The house lights are up, the ringing in your ears is just starting to set in, and the show is over. But the night isn't. Welcome to the after party. I'm your host, The Stranger, and you've just stepped into the home of the strange. This is the show where we break down the performances, the crowds, the venues, and everything that happens when live music takes over the room, as well as the emotions that stay with us after it's all over. Tonight, on episode 3 of the After Party, we're taking off to Utopia for a massive metal concert. The Bring Me the Horizon North American Ascension Program 2 tour with support from Motionless In White, The Plotting You, and Amira Elfeky. More specifically, the first stop of the tour here in Toronto on April 28, 2026 at the Scotiabank Arena. As a reminder, my goal with this channel is to bring the live music experience to you through this show and video recordings of the concerts. For the North American Ascension Program 2, I have all 4 sets from all 4 bands recorded in full, uncut, and uploaded on the Home of the Strange YouTube channel so you can experience the moments that I'll be referencing during this episode. I used an iPhone 13 Pro Max this time, so the image is higher definition than what I captured with my Pixel 5 for previous recordings, and I also use a small tripod so the footage is steady. To see exactly what I'm talking about, just pause at any moment, go see the live recordings playlist, and follow along. Also, check out Home of the Strange on Reddit and Instagram to see a somewhat up-to-date calendar of all the concerts I'm going to this year, my vinyl and CD collection, and more fun stuff. If you enjoy this type of content, make sure to subscribe, like, comment with your feedback, and share with someone who loves music. Everyone is welcome to be a resident at the Home of the Strange. Alright, that's enough of that. Let's get into the show. Opening the night was Amira Elfeky. I don't know if I'm saying it right. Is Elfeky or Elfeky? I'll just call her Amira from now on. Amira popped onto the scene not too long ago and has been making waves ever since. My wife introduced me to her music with the song Death of Me in early 2025, and we've been keeping up with her new releases. More my wife than me, to be honest, but I was impressed with what I had heard so far. Since she was booked as an opener for Bring Me, I decided not to dive any deeper into her music leading up to the show to experience it with fresher ears. And those fresh ears were blessed with one of the most beautiful new voices in this scene. Her vocal performance was immaculate, hitting every note effortlessly and even surprising me with a powerful scream during the last song of the set, Hold On To Me. Just enough aggression, used sparingly for maximum impact. That goes for not just this song, but the set as a whole. Amira, accompanied by a guitarist, a bassist, and a drummer, performed 6 songs through a 20-minute setlist of all killer, no filler, which is exactly what I want from an opening band. Sometimes newer artists try too many things as an opening act and lose the attention from fans of the headliners, getting swallowed by the size of the stage and the acoustics of these big rooms. But Amira and co. looked and sounded like they fully belonged in this 15,000 cap venue. No screens behind the band, just their instruments and stage lighting perfectly synced to each song being some of her most popular tracks that most people in the room would recognize or be interested in if they're hearing them for the first time. Great display of understanding the strengths of what she has to offer at this early stage of her career and showing restraint to not overdo it in an attempt to impress a big crowd. After having seen her live myself, I can confidently say that Amira is the whole package with a huge potential to be the next big thing. Yes, this style of alt rock / new metal with breathy vocals is getting oversaturated, but the fact that Bring Me the Horizon is taking her out on tour is a great sign that she is one of the standouts to pay attention to in the genre. Next up was The Plotting You. This is a band that I've heard a lot about in the last couple of years with the rollout of their volume 1 through 4 EPs, culminating in the announcement of their upcoming self-titled that will be all 4 EPs in one album. I really like this approach to releasing music. One of my favorite bands, Young the Giant, did this for their last LP, American Bollywood. But I won't get into that. Back to the Plotting You. People online seem to really enjoy their music, but I can't say that I'm tapped into it at all. I actually have just one song of theirs in my like songs, Disposable FX, from their 2018 LP, Dispose, but have no idea where or when I first heard it. But I really like that song and have heard nothing but positive things about their new material, so I was really excited to experience their live show. Same as Amira, I didn't listen to their music ahead of time to have a clean perspective going into it. And I really think they delivered on the hype. This band is ferocious live, with a good mix of screamed and clean vocals with some very memorable hooks. There's something about the way Landon Towers delivers the chorus and bridge of songs like Forgotten that have so much personality, and it invites the entire crowd to sing along. The crowd went absolutely wild. Instrumentally, it really reminds me of the cybernetic sound that bands like Motionless in White and Bring Me the Horizon have been doing for a bit, but making it distinctly theirs. I've had a problem before with bands straight up ripping off what has been done before, but the Plotting You is taking the formula and expanding on the palette that we all know. To be fair, their 8-song set list features 7 songs from their latest project. Some longtime fans might be disappointed by the omission of older tracks in favor of newer material, but spoilers, that's going to be a theme for the next bands in the bill as well. So I can't judge their entire discography based on this performance, but I really enjoy what they played. The stage production included a couple of screens on stage right behind the band, displaying clips from music videos as well as custom visuals with lyrics for a few of the songs. I'm sure having the lyrics on screen helped those sing-along moments, like the ones in Forgotten, land better, because I'm seeing it being done by other artists more and more lately. It's another shared approach between all the bands in this tour that use screens, but I will talk about that in a bit more depth later in the episode. One more to say. The Plotting You is another really cool band that deserves to be on everyone's radar. I'll be checking out their self-titled album when it comes out in July, and then go back to listen to the rest of their catalog. I think I'm really gonna dig it. With that, we'll move on to the next set, the direct support, Motionless in White. It's been over a decade since I saw Motionless back in 2015 for the Summer's Last Stand tour here in Toronto. Still one of the most stacked concert lineups I've witnessed. Motionless in White, Bullet for My Valentine, Lamb of God, and Slipknot. Insane. That was at the former Molson Amphitheater, now called RBC Amphitheater, which has a capacity of around 16,000 people. So a similar sized crowd to the one here at the Scotiabank Arena, but now they're the direct support as opposed to being first of 4. I've never been a huge fan of their entire discography, but their set on that tour in 2015 was so tight that it made me want to continue to follow their career. I was actually supposed to see them in 2023 again for the Trinity of Terror tour with Ice Nine Kills and Black Veil Brides, but that show got cancelled at the last minute. So seeing this performance in 2026 was a long time coming, to say the least. And the wait was well worth it. Motionless in White continues to prove that they're one of the best live bands in this scene. Chris Motionless is obviously a standout, with an incredibly recognizable voice that truly elevates each one of their songs, especially live. He consistently hits every note and belts every scream, commanding attention from the crowd with so much ease. The rest of the band is just as good instrumentally. Justin Morrow on bass and vocals is another highlight with so much style in his performance. The cyberpunk metal sound and aesthetic has become synonymous with their identity, and it translates so well in a room of this size. It's very cinematic. Motionless also uses the screens behind the band, showing references to the Universal Pictures intro, the THX sound, the Matrix, and many more. They also get to use the additional 2 screens on either side of the stage, which makes the visuals pop even more. The fog cannons also make their entire performance feel like a considerate step up from the previous acts. Oh, and of course, the banner with their logo looks so badass with lights above making it change colors and tying everything up so well together. I'll quickly note here that they also showed lyrics on the screens for a couple of songs. I think my favorite song they played was their newest single, Afraid of the Dark, even though it was a shortened version with no second chorus. The breakdown though was filthy. That bleh goes so hard, and then he goes right back to that huge chorus with a perfect flow that I can't get enough of. All the songs they chose for their set achieve what's needed from the main support. Get the blood pumping in the room, satisfy current fans, and gain new ones. But similarly to The Plotting You, Motionless played mostly new material. In fact, they didn't play anything from their first 3 albums, which is a fair decision when the band has so many hits and has evolved so much throughout their career, but I know longtime fans will love to hear those older tracks. I also get that this is not their headline show, so their setlist is shorter, but there could be room to balance it by including a couple of those classics. My wife is the bigger fan of the band, and she absolutely loved the performance, but was still wishing she had heard something from Creatures. A few people commented on the recording already with their thoughts about the setlist, so you can join the conversation there or in the comments here. What do you think about choosing new songs over old ones, especially as an opening band? Either way, Motionless in White fucking killed it that night. I left that show a decade ago as a bigger fan of the band than I was before, and it's the same thing now. They continue to put out great songs, and their live performance is as solid as ever, so I'll continue to follow their career and look forward to their next release, which I'm guessing is going to have Afraid of the Dark in it. Alright, with the openers out of the way, we can finally talk about the headliner, Bring Me the Horizon. I was looking forward to seeing all 4 bands in this tour, but to be entirely honest, I went to this show to see Bring Me the Horizon, and the openers were just an added bonus. Bring Me has been one of my favorite bands ever since I first listened to them in 2012. The backstory is that 2012 is when I first met my wife, and she was already a huge Bring Me the Horizon fan from the beginning. She was right into the MySpace era and had been following the band ever since. So she introduced me to their music, which I was actually having trouble fully clicking with since I wasn't used to music this heavy yet. My top favorite band was and still is Linkin Park, and Bullet for My Valentine was probably the heaviest band I listened to back then. The first 3 Bring Me albums are so much heavier than anything I knew at that point, so as I said, it took me a little bit to get into it. But when Shadow Moses dropped in 2013, everything changed. The reason why I like Linkin Park so much is their innovation. Early in their career, they decided to deviate from the sound that made them blow up in search for a new horizon that hadn't been reached yet, pun intended. Now, Bring Me the Horizon was going for it in their own way. They had already done this in a way with the transition between all 3 of their first albums, but this was just in a whole different level. Sleepwalking, as the second single, continued to tease this idea, but when Sempiternal released, it was clear that they had crafted something special that the world had never heard. They had added a whole new palette of sounds to their own discography and the one of almost every other band in this scene. Even to this day, the influence of this album is heard. What a fucking masterpiece. They announced they were coming to the Sound Academy in Toronto, a 2,500 cap venue for the American Dream Tour in 2014, so we got our tickets right away. This was my wife's first time seeing them live, so the expectations were high and they completely blew past them. To this day, it is one of the coolest shows we've been to with a legendary lineup. Northlane with the original vocalist Adrian Fittipaldi's, Issues with all the original members, Of Mice and Men with Austin Carlisle and the new singer at the time, Aaron Pauli, and then Bring Me the Horizon promoting Sempiternal. Incredible from beginning to end. All four bands were great, but Bring Me was just larger than life. My neck hadn't hurt that much from headbanging before, and probably hasn't again since, until this tour, but we'll get there in a second. Hearing these new songs live was proof that this band was going to skyrocket even more than they already had. They became one of my favorite bands, and I ended up going back and falling in love with the earlier albums. Only Chelsea Smile, Diamonds Aren't Forever, and It Never Ends made it to the setlist this time in 2014, and nothing from Count Your Blessings. I shared some photos I took at that show a while back on Reddit. I'll add the link to it below. We saw them once more in 2017 for the American Nightmare Tour at the Ricoh Coliseum, now called Coca-Cola Coliseum. I mentioned this show in the first episode of the After Party because Beartooth was one of the openers, along with Under Oath, but I didn't get into what I thought about Bring Me set. They were promoting That's the Spirit, so the setlist had many of those songs, but they still played almost just as many songs from Sempiternal. What a fun show that was. Every song felt like an anthem in this 8,000 cap venue. Only Chelsea Smile stayed on the setlist now, so you could see how the band was continuing to push past those early albums. But this new version of the band was so good, it had so much mainstream appeal, that it made total sense for them to go in this direction with their following release, Ammo. They didn't come through Toronto for that album cycle, and the next time they played in the city was in 2023 as an opener for Fall Out Boy, who we had already seen live twice, so we decided to pass. Fast forward to last year, they announced the North American Ascension Program 2 tour. What a mouthful. That was coming to the Scotiabank Arena in 2026. That is now a 15,000 cap venue as the headliner. We couldn't wait. Both post-human releases, Survival Horror and Next Gen, are full of heat, and we never got to hear anything from Ammo live, so there was a lot of new music to look forward to, and they absolutely delivered. This portion of the episode ended up being a track-by-track recap because of how much I love this band and how awesome this entire set was. We also have the full uncut recording in 4K up on the channel right now. I've already watched it a few times since the day of the concert and will continue rewatching it for the foreseeable future. I'm gonna go through the setlist in order so I don't end up jumping all over the place. This show deserves to be dissected for the level of talent and effort that was put into the setlist, the performance, the stage production, and the narrative that weaves it all together. There will be plenty of details that I missed, but I just want to focus on the things that made the biggest impact on me, which were a lot. But if you were there or if you've seen this tour, please comment below and let me know what you think about anything that you saw that night. From the moment we walked into the venue, the experience had begun. We were given a physical ticket by venue staff who told us this is something the band is doing, so you feel welcome into the show right away. The opening bands played, but before Bring Me the Horizon came out, a curtain was placed in front of the stage, and the two screens on either side showed a PlayStation 1 style booting up animation that transitioned into a title screen for a video game called Post-Human Next Gen, looking straight out of Resident Evil. The title screen would remain idle for a couple of minutes and then cycle through demo trailers for this game, featuring 4 characters for each one of the members of the band. The attention to detail here is spot on. It truly looks and sounds like a legit PS1 era video game, and I would love it if it was real so we could play it. After the 4th trailer, the title screen selects New Game, Extreme Difficulty, and we're off to the races. I won't try to explain the lore too much because I frankly haven't dove into it too deeply myself, but I will try to analyze what was presented in the show based on what I know about the band and the things that they seem to be referencing. So cut me some slack if I get something wrong. The show/game starts with the villain character Eve coming on screen to welcome Toronto specifically to the Bring Me the Horizon post-human life experience and taunting the audience/player by rating the reaction level in the room as weak as fuck. The camera points at the crowd as Eve says that there are no significant mosh pits detected and that everyone in possession of narcotics should consume them right away. She then says that we are all possessed and the contamination is spreading quickly, but we can be saved if we hand ourselves over to the Church of Genexus. The curtain drops. I think actually the curtain gets swallowed up to the top of the stage to reveal a 3-level stage with screens in front of both platforms and a massive screen at the back going from edge to edge of the stage, displaying these beautiful church stained glass windows. The band comes out and the music finally starts with Dark Side. Opening the show with this song felt so right. I actually predicted they would right before the show started. Dark Side has all the Bring Me the Horizon elements in a sort of restrained package. It doesn't get too heavy, but it still rocks, and the chorus is massive. With confetti and sparks shooting out right off the get-go, we knew that this was going to be a fucking party. If that wasn't clear enough yet, Ollie Sykes addresses the crowd after this first song by asking, "Can I see a fucking circle pit? Pretty please. We're gonna play you an old song," before they break into the House of Wolves. The crowd obeyed and made 2 huge circle pits, but Ollie still taunted them before the breakdown saying, "You call that a mosh pit, Toronto? That ain't no fucking mosh pit. I wanna see blood." My jaw hit the floor after he said that, and the crowd split in 2 to create a wall of death within like milliseconds. Ollie made it even heavier with some deathcore screams at the end. I don't think I've seen this much energy on the floor at this venue ever before, and it's only the second song. It's probably my favorite track from Sempiternal, and it always hits live. Mantra was up next, with deathcore screams added too, but even more prominent to the performance. I'm so glad to finally hear Mantra live and it be this version. It was still a breather compared to the House of Wolves before it, but Happy Song came after and the energy was all the way to the max again. This track's sing-along refrain spelling out SPIRIT, spirit, was awesome the first time I heard it live, and is still awesome today. It's all about crowd participation, with the lyrics on screen, hands waving during the chorus, and now a properly prompted wall of death for the breakdown. All Ollie had to do was ask to split the room in 2, and people did it immediately. Him saying to not pussy out is hilarious though. The entire room exploded with that breakdown. As Ollie said at the end of that performance, it was fucking mental. Next came Teardrops, their most Linkin Park sounding song, which makes it my favorite from survival horror. I love that bouncy riff, and it translates so well to a huge arena performance. Lee Malia and Matt Keane hold the riff before the breakdown with so much poise for a few extra bars, and then it comes crashing down before that last huge chorus. Just an undeniable anthem. After this point, every song they've played is from a different album, until now. The set goes back to Next Gen with Amen. The performance starts with an extended intro led by Matt Nichols on drums before it blasts off with pyro and the stained glass backdrop breaks. The side screens play videos of the features that I don't think are from the music video, so perhaps recorded specifically for the live shows, but when it goes back to Ollie singing is when the performance takes a big turn. If somehow you've been listening to this episode and haven't watched the recording yet, I recommend you watch that first because my explanation will not do it justice. The pre-breakdown section is extended instrumentally while the camera focuses on Ollie with an AI filter over him that makes him look like a skeleton demon. It's so cool. Ollie looks at his hands as if he's also noticing this transformation, and it really sells the effect. When he approaches the microphone stand again, his image sort of melts into the stand and it looks terrifying. That moment really prepped the crowd to go all out for the breakdown, right into the final chorus where the sound and visuals started to glitch out. The performance ends with sparks flying from the top and bottom of the stage, and a blue screen of death appears before it all goes dark. Wow, what an absolutely incredible performance. The song is already great, but the way the band performed it and the way the stage production synced with it enhanced it to a level that I had no idea was possible. That final moment will live rent-free in my head for the rest of my life. I'll give you some more of my thoughts about this AI filter at the end and tell you why I like it so much. But let's not stop here because the performance keeps getting better. That kind of marks the end of the first part of the show, and another interlude played before the next song. Eve comes on screen again, telling us to stay calm while they're experiencing technical difficulties. But one of her henchmen, I guess, calls to tell her that Project Angel Dust has escaped and is heading right to us, so we need to evacuate. The henchman gets shot, the call drops, and now we hear loud footsteps as something approaches from behind the broken stained glass windows. A colossal angel demon breaks through the wall and says he's here to take our souls, before the band comes back on stage to perform Kool-Aid. Another banger from Next Gen that is made to be played live. The lead up to the breakdown was super fun, with Ollie prompting the crowd to do a circle pit again, saying that all they need to do is run around a circle like a fucking idiot. A big spotlight actually starts to move around in circles where the pit is, and the angel demon is motioning circles with his hands too. It all comes together so well with the music, which does not skip a beat. The angel demon gets defeated at the end of the song by, I guess, the band and the audience/player, leaving only a carcass on screen. Henchmen come out on the screen to secure the contaminated location by shooting some sort of disinfecting gas from their guns, while two real people, dressed the same as the ones on screen, stand on stage shooting actual fog into the room. What a seamless way to connect what's happening both on and off screen. As the fog disperses, a new design for the stage is revealed. Now, the ruins of the church walls are covered in snow and ice. An extended intro of Shadow Moses starts to swell up right before the Sempiternal logo is revealed at the back, with Ollie standing in front of it holding a flare like he does in the music video. Cinema, I tell you. That was a triumphant intro. This song will never get old, and the band kills it live every time. I really liked Matt Keen's energy during this performance. It looked like he was having a lot of fun. And the people on the floor were having lots of fun too, with many crowd surfers going the whole time. Lyrics showed on the screen for some of the most iconic lines, helping the crowd sing along even louder. The song ends and the stage design changes again, with the screens first showing the ruins of a post-apocalyptic city reminiscent of Raccoon City from Resident Evil. It then transitions to the inside of the lab where they're doing human experiments. The video focuses on a woman that's one of the test subjects, and she's hooked up to these red wires. The camera zooms into her face and she says, "Let's begin," from OST Dreamseeker, the opening track of Next Gen, which goes right into the song Utopia. This is my favorite non-single from the newest album, and I was so pumped when I saw that they were playing it live. The acoustic guitar in the first verse and the electric guitar solo sounded sublime. This paired with another stellar vocal performance and the visuals of a POV flight across flower fields and dark cemeteries, made me feel like I was taking off to Utopia myself. Truly ethereal. After this song, we got another interlude, this time featuring the character Celine, who I think is one of the protagonists of this story, and she is accompanied by a robot called M8. The stage design now looks like a computer interface. They both explain to the audience that Eve is not just here to study us, but to dissect us in hopes to unveil a secret path to Utopia. Celine states that this path does not exist, but before she can actually tell us the only real way to access Utopia, an alarm goes off alerting them that Eve is onto them. She warned us to get out while we can and instructed M8 to upload a virus before they left the screen. Green lasers flash over the entire arena and we start to hear the interlude track Itch for the Cure from post-human survival horror. Eve and another henchman come back on screen, this time in the style of a Metal Gear Solid phone call. The henchman explains that the rebellion has executed a cyber attack on their network, a cyber attack called Project Kingslayer. That's right. It's far from my favorite track in this EP, but God, is it fun. My wife loves it. So cool to see the animation of Baby Metal in the background as Bring Me rips through this performance. Ollie Lee and Matt Keane look so badass when they go to the end of the catwalk for the outro of the song. Eve comes back to the screen saying that the virus is kicking her ass and would need a volunteer to execute a vocalization sequence to open the gateway to Utopia, asking Ollie to pick someone from the crowd. Maybe one of you listening knows. Has this happened the entire cycle, or is it something new for this leg of the tour? I'm not sure, but he went looking for people holding signs at the barricade and picked someone who said it was their birthday. While they were getting ready, the stage design changed once more to now resemble a rhythm video game called Scream Star. It looks so authentic, paying homage to games like Guitar Hero and Rock Band. The game was set to extreme difficulty again, of course, the character set to random, and then the song selection screen appeared, cycling through tracks from their entire catalog. We all knew that they were going to play Antivist, but still went wild when it showed Pray for Plagues. It was the one song I thought they might play from Count Your Blessings, since the re-release of the album is happening soon, but they didn't play any songs from that record. Actually, this is a good moment to mention that they didn't play any songs from their first 3 albums. I told you it was a theme between all bands in this bill to only play their newer material, but I will touch on that a bit more later. For now, Antivist was in fact selected and the loading screen appeared. Ollie introduced the fan who was going to sing with them and told the crowd to be kind since it's her birthday. The girl walked to the front of the catwalk and asked the crowd for a birthday wish to show Bring Me the Horizon what the fuck Toronto is all about. So ballsy. Ollie even said, she talks the talk, but can she walk the walk? Before the song got started. We hear the intro riff in anticipation for the first vocals, and oh my god, this girl killed it. She was able to do all the screams flawlessly, with Ollie sitting up in the first platform, providing backup screams and looking out at her like a proud father. He joined her on full vocal duties in the catwalk for the breakdown that went as hard as always, and got the crowd to do another wall of death before the final chorus. I remember how awesome this moment was the first time I saw it live in 2014 at a 2500 cap room, with everyone lifting their middle fingers up and going wild. And it makes it so much more impressive to see it happening now at a 15,000 cap arena. The whole time the song was performed, the UI of the rhythm video game played on the screens showing the lyrics and notes to hit like in Rock Band, and combos going up. At the end, a high score leaderboard was displayed because there was a real rhythm game you could play on your phone while the song was performed. I tried to do it, but it was too distracting for me. The next song couldn't be a bigger gear switch with Follow You, one of my favorite tracks from That's the Spirit, and I think one of the best love songs in alternative rock, maybe ever. My wife and I hold it close to our hearts, connecting with it right away when the album came out in 2015, loving it live back in 2017, having it in our wedding playlist in 2023, and now in 2026, over a decade after its first release. Experiencing it being performed in the biggest room we've seen the band live is just one of those moments that make me stop to be grateful for these opportunities that bring so much joy to my life. It was so beautiful to see all the phone lights shining for this one and Ollie prompting people on the floor to get on each other's shoulders, reminding everyone that we're at a rock concert. I absolutely love that. The chorus sounded massive, with everyone singing along to lyrics up on the screen. Ollie acknowledged that massive audience growth by saying that he doesn't remember ever playing to this many people in Toronto and thanking us for the support, before confetti and sparks shoot out to introduce us to the next anthem, Lost. It sounds like an anthem in the studio version, and it lives up to that in person. Huge My Chemical Romance I'm Not Okay vibes with this one, and it rocks just as much. The crowd participation leading to the breakdown happened unanimously. The song is perfectly crafted for it, without any lyrics on screen needed to sing along. The main visuals for this performance were animations of the inside of a medical facility, similar to the music video, but custom made for this show. Everything in the show is custom made actually, while still including references to their own work and the work of others that they admire, like Hideo Kojima, Capcom, PlayStation, and many more to uncover. A gigantic evil scientist appears on the large backdrop screen and gets defeated by the band and the audience/player at the end of the performance. This led to the final song of the main act, which was perfectly teased by Ollie saying, "There's something I've been meaning to ask you. It's a little bit personal, close to the bone. Toronto, can you feel my heart?" And that iconic synth kicks off, aura farming to the max. But before the first drop, Ollie blessed us with another hilarious line saying, "Here's the deal. If you don't jump, you're a fucking dickhead." Only a handful of artists can pull off this level of trolling like Ollie Sykes can. But what can I say about this song? It's bigger now than it ever was, thanks to the viral moment that it had a few years ago. But it has always been great. It opens one of the best albums in their entire discography. It opened the show in 2014, it's been part of their set list all of these years, and now it has graduated to be the closer for the main set. I think I heard him say this before somewhere, but leading up to the bridge, Ollie said that those are his favorite lyrics he's ever written, proving that they knew how special this song was from the beginning. He asked the crowd to double how loud they've been to sing along to this part, and the crowd obliged. No lyrics needed for this one either. Just the image of a giant spiky pink heart on the backdrop screen, lasers shooting across the room, and confetti with sparks at the final drop. The song ended, the stage went dark, and we all waited for the inevitable encore, which started with a quick call from Eve, asking if we wanted to hear more of this shit, and saying, "You people are all doomed," before the show transitions to a montage video of the band throughout their career. Clips from music videos, concerts, interviews, photo shoots, and behind-the-scenes moments, with the orchestral overture from the Royal Albert Hall performance playing in the background. Cinema again! Seeing Chester and Mike from Linkin Park is an easy way to my heart, but they also showed other musicians that they've collaborated with, like Danny Filth, Youngblood, and Ed Sheeran, as well as Coldplay when Bring Me had that infamous 2016 NME Awards performance. A really cool tribute to the living legacy of the band. The montage ended with a POV of someone picking up a book with the Church of Genexus logo on it. The video fades to black, and the opening beat of Doomed takes over. The stage design was more understated for this song, with no image on the big backdrop screen, just on the platforms, showing minimalist neon lights framing the screens, fog covering the stage, and lasers over the crowd. It really matches the tone of the performance, filling the room with a very palpable atmosphere. If you do watch the recording, I swear to you, that's not me singing the chorus. I definitely can't sing as well as the guy behind me who was loving this performance. My wife and I sat during the wait for the encore and this first song to gain energy for the final two songs. Before that, M8 came on the screen again to tease the crowd by asking the band if they could play Pray for Plagues. Now that's just playing with my emotions. But emotions are what was needed because she explained that the only true way to access utopia is through peace, love, and all that kind of mushy crap. She asked the computer to create an aura gauger to measure the spiritual level of the crowd, which was essentially a camera that Ollie held up to the people in the barricade to sing the next song with him. That song being Drown. The video feed, which took over the big screens, first shows squares over each person's face, detecting devil horns on their heads, and then it started to detect angel halos. This is another track that never gets old, and is fully elevated with a room full of people singing along. Super relatable lyrics with a very powerful groove. It redefined what a Bring Me the Horizon song could be when it first came out in 2014. The band would not sound like they do today without it, so it fits perfectly in this spot of the set list. The encore is just a massive victory lap, as I think it should be, and that's reflected in the last song too. Ollie addresses the audience first, telling them not to leave now to beat traffic and miss the best song. Tomorrow we'll go back to our ordinary lives, so let's make this last one count. He said verbatim, let's break some fucking bones so we don't have to go to work. This guy. Before they launch into arguably their biggest anthem, Throne. The stage design fittingly changed to the inside of a great hall with a throne in the middle and two giant wolves coming in from each side. I always thought the chant in this song sounds like a football chant that fans sing during matches to cheer their teams, and it translates exactly like that when performed live. Such an engaging performance with the chant and Ollie asking us to kneel during the bridge before jumping for the final big chorus, which had all the stage production, bells and whistles like pyro, fog cannons, confetti, and lasers. What a triumphant way to close out the show. 10 out of 10. The credits rolled on the side screens while their instrumental track, 15 Fathoms Counting, played in the background. An after credit scene played too, showing Eve trying to destroy the audience since she wasn't able to harvest us, but she's blocked by a CAPTCHA screen verifying if she's human, which she's not. The screen glitched out, everything goes black, and then in big bold letters, the following words appear on the backdrop screen. BMTH just rocked my world. Indeed, they did. A few final thoughts I wanted to mention. First, they had backup dancers during a few songs that added to the dynamics of what was happening on stage. Really cool touch with them using pom-poms to cheer during happy song and waving flags for the opening and closing performances. Second is the omission of songs from their first 3 albums. I thought that since they were promoting the re-release of Count Your Blessings, we would at least get one song from that album, and that would maybe signal that we would get songs from the other 2 albums as well, the other first 2 albums, but we didn't. And this might be because they're saving those performances for the Manchester shows in which they're going to play the Count Your Blessings album in its entirety. But it was still something that was teased a couple of times throughout the show, so I wanted to hear it, and it's all right. There's so many jokes that happen throughout the concert that is part of the experience and I can live with it. The setlist was still great, but I wanted to mention it because both Motionless in White and The Plotting You also just played newer material, which is interesting. I think perhaps they did that because Bring Me was doing something similar, and Bring Me is the type of band that shows others that you can evolve, that you can create a new version of yourself and not be stuck in the past. So very cool to see them leaning into their newer material, but I still think it might be disappointing for some longtime fans to not get to hear those older tracks. Third is the use of AI. You can tell that all the visuals are custom made for this show, including the AI effects that go over people in the crowd and especially on Ollie for the performance of Amen. Someone tell me if I'm wrong, but these effects seem to be trained on custom art, so humans are having a hand at every step of the creative process. The use of it is not just deliberate, but also perfectly fitting for the concepts and themes of digital anxiety that are explored in their most recent music and throughout the entire live show. I had a problem with the way AI was used at the last concert I went to. Check out episode 2 of the After Party to hear that story. But it was essentially because it seemed like what they did could have been achieved without it. This here for Bring Me the Horizon, on the other hand, is a perfect match with what the band is trying to achieve. Alright, fourth and last is the inclusion of lyrics on screen for many of the songs for Bring Me the Horizon, Motionless in White, and The Plotting You. Amira didn't have screens to show lyrics, but I'm positive she would have if she did have them. It's really nothing that I'm against or in favor of. It's just something that I've noticed is being done more and more lately, especially at bigger shows. As I said earlier, I'm sure having the lyrics helps people sing along, and it probably helps them remember the songs better after the show if they weren't already familiar with them. It just cheapens the experience for me a bit. Let me explain. I perceive lyric videos to be one step below music videos, and music videos feels like it's one step below the live music experience. So whenever an artist brings one of those two elements into a concert, it feels to me like they're saving money by reusing assets instead of creating something new for the live music experience. Again, I'm not against it because making the most out of the content you have already created is just smart use of existing resources, but I prefer to see fresh visuals live. I'd really like to know how you feel about all of this. Do you agree or disagree with my opinion about the use of AI in concerts? What do you think about lyrics being shown on screen during some songs? And do you think it's okay to stop playing old songs and just focus on new ones? Let me know in the comments. I know I pretty much just did a play-by-play of everything that happened during the Bring Me the Horizon set, but please go watch this live recording. It's truly a masterclass on what can be achieved by rock bands at this level. I checked the ticket prices for Bad Omens and Ghost, which I saw at this same venue earlier this year, and they're all about the same price. Bad Omens had 2 openers, and the stage production is not really comparable to the spectacle that Bring Me put on, so I wonder how the money was distributed. Ghost had no openers, but their stage production had actual mechanical parts moving and evolving the stage throughout the show, which is really expensive, so it kind of makes sense where the money was used. It's interesting to compare what can be done for relatively the same amount of money, but I just think that Bring Me the Horizon blew them out of the park. I'll say it again. The level of talent and effort that went into every aspect of the show is outstanding, creating a larger-than-life experience that we'll remember forever, making this our favorite concert of 2026 so far. But don't just take my word for it. As I've said before, the whole point of the Home of the Strange is to bring live music directly to you with this show, plus recordings of the concerts whenever possible for you to enjoy. If you haven't done so already, go see the live recordings playlist and experience them for yourself. All the links are down in the description below, and all the recordings are timestamped for each song so you can jump around to your favorite tracks. Don't forget to share this with someone who loves music. Like, subscribe, leave a comment with your feedback and thoughts about any of the bands that we covered today. Have you seen Bring Me the Horizon or any of the openers live before? Which one is your favorite out of the 4? Let me know. Well, that really does bring us to a wrap on episode 3 of the After Party. But the fun is just getting started. The next concert has already happened for the progressive metal band Unprocess with support from Alt and Midwinter. It was 2 days after the Bring Me the Horizon show, so it was a heavy metal type of week. I was able to capture full, uncut recordings of all 3 sets, and they're available on the channel right now. As soon as I upload this episode of the After Party, I'll begin working on the next one to cover the Unprocessed Angel Tour, which was a true showcase of musical proficiency moving at lightning speeds. The 2026 concert season calendar keeps growing, so stay tuned here and follow me on IG and Reddit at Home of the Strange to see where else I'll be this year. If there's a tour coming through North America that you want to see fully recorded and reviewed here, drop a comment below and let me know who I should go see next. Alright, that's it for tonight's After Party. Thank you all for listening. If you dug this, subscribe, like and share, go watch those live recordings, and leave a comment with your thoughts. I'm The Stranger, stay strange, I'll see you at the next show.